Welcome to KAWO's ultimate introduction to social media in China. In this video, we're going to be looking at the travel and tourism apps and platforms that help Chinese travelers to get around, not just in China, but all over the world. On this slide here, you can see a breakdown of China's online travel market. You'll notice absent from this pie chart are any of the names you might be familiar with. No Kayak, no Booking.com, but some other completely different platforms. The leader here is Ctrip, commanding the majority or the largest share of the market, but we've also got Qunar, Feiju, and Tuniu. It's interesting, having been here in China for so many years and seen the immense growth of tourism in China and the transition over that time. You might remember, if you watched our earlier video about China, that the concept of a weekend is in some ways still relatively new in China. There's also the concept of having the money and the resources to be able to travel around the world is something that has grown over time too, and the Chinese people definitely have a huge appetite for it. When I first came to China, the majority of flights back home around Christmas time were dominated by foreigners, and that's what drove the prices. These days, Christmas is barely even a blip. It's the Chinese holidays of the Lunar New Year and October's Golden Week that really drive the high prices of flights. So if we go on to this next slide here, we can see that Ctrip is 25% owned by Baidu. So yet another interesting situation where Baidu, despite being in far distant place to Alibaba and Tencent in terms of their share price, they still have major players in different parts of the market. Ctrip has made efforts to internationalize as well. They have their own English version, which is trip.com. And they provide a huge amount of services. You can now even use Ctrip to book trains and buses in overseas countries. In fact, when I go home to the UK, I'm able to use Ctrip's app to directly book UK train tickets. Ctrip also has its own coins and incentives and rewards program as well to encourage loyalty to their platform. Then Ctrip actually 100% owns its next biggest rival, which is Qunar. Qunar has a very slightly different audience, maybe slightly better educated, slightly more white collar, so that is a factor to consider when you're looking at promoting on different platforms. Qunar definitely doesn't have anywhere near the reach of Ctrip. Then we have Feiju, which is from Alibaba Group, obviously not wanting to be left out of the travel sector. Its users are generally slightly younger and 35 and under, but obviously a distant place to Ctrip with less than 1/10 of the active users. And then finally, Tuniu. It's hard to say exactly what the future is like for Tuniu. They are possibly too small to succeed in the face of the rivalries of Ctrip and Qunar, who really dominate this space. Next, looking at travel review sites. Now, this is a really interesting one. The number one site here we've got is Dianping. Now, Dianping is actually primarily a restaurant review site. You can think of them most similar to Yelp. But Dianping is also heavily used by Chinese people overseas. It also actually integrates quite nicely with WeChat as well. So when somebody is talking to their friends in a WeChat conversation, they might actually use the mini program of Dianping to share the restaurant that they're intending to go to. So an interesting integration into the ecosystem there. And again, as you can see, 18% owned by Tencent. Next, we have Mafengwo, which is a little bit in some ways like Little Red Book or Xiaohongshu, which we covered in the e-commerce section, but for travel. Maybe a slightly more high-end platform and slightly more UGC focused. And then again in a distant third place, we've got Qiye owned partly by Alibaba Group. We highly recommend you check out these couple of guides. The most up-to-date one here is from Faber Novel. They actually collaborated with Ctrip to do an analysis of the travel industry and got access to a huge amount of data there. And you can download that from the link there. Then also check out this guide from Park Lu as to how you can take advantage of Dianping Meituan platform. We're actually going to be covering a little bit more on Meituan in a future version of the guide, so subscribe to our YouTube channel if you want to stay updated in the future as we continually update this content and provide you more insights about China. Thanks for watching this video. To watch the next video in this series about important niche social networks in China, just click up there. If you want to download the full PDF with all of the slides from this guide, just take a look down in the description below this video. We at KAWO created this guide, and we're a software company that helps brands and teams all over the world to achieve success on social media. To learn more about our platform and how it might be able to help you, just click on the video over there.